I'm going to record this to the cloud. That's what I'm going to do. God damn it. Okay, we'll get started. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Devil's Advocate with Rosebud Baker. Wow, I almost said my old podcast.
I couldn't hear you for a minute. It was attracted to my phone. It was on my phone. What'd you say?
I just said, welcome back, everybody, to Devil's Advocate.
Oh, you started.
I started. That's the perfect intro. I love it. So organic. We're working so, you know what I love about this is everything is so fucking raw.
Yeah.
And it's kind of forcing us to, let me introduce my guest before I get into all that.
Okay.
You guys, I am so excited to have him on. He's one of my favorite comics. I opened for him in Toronto. And my best friend, Blair Saki, who's been on the podcast, opens for him on the road. He's been in the Trolls movie. He's been on Undateable. He's got his own podcast. Welcome. Thanks for coming, Ron Funches, everybody.
Thanks for having me. What I like about this is that for the first time, I had a meeting set at 4:30 p.m. and I wasn't cursing. I wasn't like, oh, I got to sit in traffic for 3 hours now because of this fucking meeting. I was like, this is fun.
I know, it's great. It's like, it's so funny too how quickly we get lazy because I had 3 meetings on Zoom today. So that's 3 meetings I didn't even have to get dressed for fully. Mm-hmm. And I was still like, oh, 3 meetings.
No, yeah, I'm in the exact same way. I'm used to like going, but then you give me a little time off, and now I'm like, I like this. Let's not like, oh, I got 2 things to do today. This sucks.
I know. It's so funny. I'm like, and it's crazy too, because this is something that I kind of prayed for. Like, I'm not really a big. I kind of wanted this to happen. Like, I was like, I wish there was something that happened that would just make everything stop for like a second, you know, just so that we could all just press pause on our lives and like be with people that we love and just chill, you know. I wouldn't say that I was praying for them to be stacking bodies in Central Park, but that happened to be,
well, they're going to do that either way.
That's true. I mean, there's bodies in, if you don't think there's bodies in Central Park while you're walking around the zoo, you need to grow up.
With a magnolia banana pudding in your hand, there's a dead body right behind
you. Under your feet, I'd say. You know? I love this though. I'm so happy you're here. This is a real chill podcast. By the way, my internet connection is like an Airbnb internet connection. It's real trash, and I just want to apologize for that in advance. What happened is, Ron, I swapped apartments with a couple that lives in Echo Park. Mm-hmm. And they went to my place in New York, and they both got COVID. And then they fled my apartment in New York to go upstate and like recover. And now I'm just squatting in their apartment. And I feel so bad for them. Like they really got the shitty end of the deal.
Yeah, I mean, if you won that deal, though, that's a good deal for you.
They got a tiny New York apartment and COVID. And I got their house with a lemon tree and an orchard in the back. I mean, it's
a lot of books,
a lot of books
smart.
A lot of books about like how an actor prepares. Yeah. And then like Jung's early work and just like meditations on melancholy. I don't know. I'm like making shit up at this point, but, anyway, they're that kind of couple. They're very sweet, but they're like, have you ever met like a real whispery person?
Yeah.
Where you're like, if I talk at a full volume, I'm going to crush their whole reality.
Oh, but that's fun because that means they live charmed lives where they haven't had to deal with a lot of harshness,
Oh my God.
which
You
is
can
why New
tell.
York ate them alive and gave them the COVID right away.
Yeah, dude, you can tell just from their supplement drawer that they weren't gonna fucking stand up to the coronavirus. Like, Andy's been showing symptoms for days. I probably have it. I can't stop vaping. I'm like, I'll vape all the way through it. I don't care. Have you had anything? Anything show up? Do you feel like you're
No, I've been
like,
fine so far. Sometimes you get a little bit of regular allergies or freaks you out. But I've been fine. I've been treating it like prison, basically, where I'm like, I'm not gonna let this beat me. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna work out twice a day. I'm gonna come out here with my GED, and I'm gonna be ready for the streets.
That's so funny. I was just saying my last podcast was a solo one, and I was like, this is going to sound like someone who's in a nice Swedish prison. Like, I was like, it's like everything. Like, I'm going to sound insane, but the situation's not that bad.
Have you done any
But
stand
yeah,
up?
I wanted to.
Have you done any
No. Have
Zoom
you?
stand up shows? I did one yesterday. I did Hot Tub. They did a Zoom show, and
Yeah.
I do not recommend it.
That's what I figured. I was like, this has got to be a disaster,
It's not
right?
good. I did a sketch. All I did was I just grabbed a bunch of my wrestling action figures and just played with them like a kid,
Oh,
and
that's
made a
great.
little scene. But anytime I was watching, and they're all talented comedians, but it's just there's no rhythm. There's no stand up is a conversation, and so there's no give and take. It's just this monologue, and it always began with people going, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And just no,
Yeah.
it just at some point I was like, oh yeah, like this is when it's like, just go see a therapist and talk
Yeah.
to
Just go talk to someone. Like you're having a hard time. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I get it. I haven't done one yet, but I have said yes to several, and they didn't work out. Not on my end, but they just didn't happen. So I was like, thank God.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's best case.
but I think there is something that's kind of like I can't blame people because it's kind of ingrained in us. We want to talk this shit out as stand-ups. We want to be able to, kind of work through all this and let people know our thoughts about it. And I think that's why if you have a podcast, it's like it's really helpful because
Hmm.
you're able to just go with someone else, and even if you don't have the immediate feedback of laughter, you're still a comic, you're still working through your thoughts on a public platform. I don't think Zoom is necessarily the way to do it. I don't think that an audience is going to work on Zoom, but I don't know, we'll figure it out. There is something in every comic that is like we can't kind of
Yeah,
exist without this shit.
I understand that, and I still had fun doing it when I was done. Like I had worked up a sweat from playing around so much, and I had the high where I had trouble going to sleep and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's because I haven't performed in like 3 weeks now, and
Yeah.
so it was still fun to go through it. But then there's also part of me that's like, it's okay to miss like the real version of it. It's okay
Yeah.
to be like, oh, this sucks, and can't have that, and can't wait to do it. It doesn't mean I have to like, have to just do everything. I feel like sometimes people just freak out, and then I see it a lot with like people making jokes now where like they're killing it on Twitter, and then like people just steal their fucking jokes, and then
Yeah.
which to me is like if they're topical, that's one thing, but if they're personal, then it's like you should have just held on to that and not,
Yeah.
tweeted that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you when you how long ago did you start stand up?
Be what things for? Let me think. Oh, Jesus, 14 years.
14 years. So you've been doing
Yeah.
this you almost got your driver's permit. Like
Yeah.
if your stand-up career was a person, it could almost drive.
Yeah, I'm exactly where. Yeah, that is always so funny. People say that your stand-up career age is like your real age. 'Cause that's how I feel. Like where I'm like sometimes I'm cocky and I'm like I know what I'm doing. I don't need my parents' help. And then there are other time where I'm like, where's mom? I don't know. Where's my mom? Where's my dad? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny. I've never heard that before, but that's like that does check out because that would make me 6 years old, which is how I feel. Like I
And the
feel,
hairstyle.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's almost like I need a pacifier, you know? Like that's how I feel when I'm on stage a lot of the time. My ums and my ahs are my pacifier.
Mhm.
See, I just did it.
Yeah, there it
But
is.
yeah, it's a bad habit. I've noticed it so much more now that I'm listening to myself podcasting. But when you started, how did you get into it?
I always, there's always deep love for it since I was a little kid. My mom was really big into comedy. We'd always like go and rent videos, and we'd end up like renting some stand up to watch. I'd watch a lot of Comic View when I was young. When I was really young, like I liked cartoons and stuff like a lot of kids, but I was also just really into like old comedy shows. As a kid, I'd watch a lot of Benny Hill. I watch a lot of I Love Lucy, a lot of Perfect Strangers, which I guess wouldn't have been too old at the time, but Mama's Families, a lot of things that were before my age, but just Green Acres, just anything. I was into like that sitcom vibe. And then just learned more about stand up, and I always loved it. And then just didn't think it was a real job. And then I had my son when I was 20. Then he was diagnosed with autism when I was 22, 23. And I was like, I got to find a career. I got to find a real job, something to that I can focus on. And I was
And
young,
you
yeah,
were like,
dumb.
stand up.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
really, yeah, it really was like you could not, if I had been maybe 2 years older, there would have been no part of me that would have been like, this is, you go and you work at this bank or this grocery store. But because I
You
had
get
my
a real
son,
job
yeah,
telling jokes.
yeah, because I was
Yeah.
so young, I was like, this makes sense. This is
Yeah.
like, this is a real career. And
Yeah.
luckily, I had enough time to grind it out, and enough
Yeah.
motivation for sure.
Yeah. That's so funny. I feel like similarly in the sense that when I got into stand up, I was 28 and I was like I dropped everything. I was like I'm going to be a stand up just because well I didn't really make that decision, but I got so involved with it and I loved it so much that I was like if this is going to be the next thing, this is going to be the only thing. And I had to like rush to make it happen because I was just like I can't fuck around. Like
Yeah,
I was like if I want to have like a real life where I'm not just like a rich kid dilettante, then I literally have to like make this happen for myself in a way that like someone who was pursuing a doctorate would do it, you know?
yeah. Oh, I
Um
absolutely understand. Yeah, that's, I think, having my son, because a lot of people only see it as like a trial or as a burden to have a kid so young. But for me, it really just focused me where I was like, I can't like, I didn't drink anyway. I'm allergic to alcohol, but I was like, I can't hang out. Like, I don't have any time to just hang out and go to karaoke. I don't have time to join the local comedian softball league. Like I
right.
have to write jokes and get better because I need to turn this into, if not a profit, this needs to stop being such a drain
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. Like I can't fuck around. Sorry, it's corona. Um I get it. So what do you think makes you like I have this theory and it could be wrong because it's just a theory, but I have this theory that the things that happen to us in our lives, like the harder things, are like the things that make us the most funny. And I I wonder if that does that ring true for you? And if not, what do you think it is that drives your humor and that makes you funny? You know, because you are
Um,
so funny, and yeah, and I just wonder for each comic what that is that kind of like sparks that for them.
I mean, I think trauma is a source for a lot of comedians. I'm not gonna say, just say it's for everyone, because I've met plenty of well-adjusted comedians who have great backgrounds and great childhoods and are also really funny, and meeting them really opened my heart and opened my mind about, oh, do I need to have this trauma to be funny? Do I need to have it as a crutch, or is it just part of my story and now, my story continues on? But it definitely, I think, going through that, especially for if you're a child, um, kind of smartens you up quickly. It makes you a
Yeah.
little smarter, I think, right away, and you start seeing behind the scenes of things. I think it's one of the reasons why I like pro wrestling so much, is because I'm really into like what's beyond the veil. What's beyond what we're actually being told we're seeing. And yeah, I mean, I just grew up in a shitty household. My mom was in an abusive relationship from when I was 8 years old. My actual dad was like, he was gone by the time I was 4 and was on drugs for a while. And when I got out of my mom's abusive relationship to go live with my dad, who had gotten his shit together, apparently, he was in an abusive relationship with a lady. So it was just a whole lot of like, bam, 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 bam. And then finally, having a son so young, and then finding out that my son was special needs, it was kind of like there's always these little tweaks in my brain of being like, you're going to have a different life. And then the last one was when my son got diagnosed with autism, and I was just like, oh, I'm going to be a weirdo.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. That's so like when you say that, when you get that message like, oh, you're gonna have a different life. Because I know what that feels like to get that like a tweak like that where you're like it's almost coming from somewhere else where you're just like looking around at the things that are happening and you're like, okay, all right, this is a different thing that I'm getting handed here. Um, does that inspire fear in you at any or do you kind of embrace it or is it a little bit of both? Like is it
It one leads to the other. I think first it's very fearful and isolating, right? Like I think for those of us who feel this way, I won't even give it a name. I don't know what I would call it, but you just start to feel different from the people around you, from your own family, from your friends, your peer group. And I think for me, it led to me a lot of like looking for where my peer group was. Like, oh, like I'm not a traditional, like, oh, I wasn't gonna play sports and play basketball. Maybe my friends would be video game nerds, but then you're like, oh, some of these guys are assholes too, and then even when you get
yeah.
into comedy and you're like, oh, you're an asshole too. It was like
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fucking wake up call, right? I had so many people that I initially like those comedy friends that you like you'll attach to it's always the ones that you attach to really quickly. You know what I mean? That end up blowing the fuck up. Like I'm speaking as someone who just got engaged after 5.5 months, so maybe I should just fucking slow the fuck down. But like
No,
but
I
I
think you
think
and Andy are good together, though. You're the perfect level of whiteness and
you, the most extreme level of whiteness, you mean?
yeah, Hitler would
Yeah.
love this. You love this union.
I feel like Hitler would be like, this is a little on the nose. Hitler would be like, this is a little too far. No, I think, yeah, he's the perfect level of weird for me too. We're both sober comedians, which is,
Yeah, yeah.
an odd combo.
Yeah, and you both seem like you could have been assholes at different times. I mean, actually, I know Andy for a long time, so I was like, maybe you both were assholes at different times.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, dude.
And now you help each other get your shit together.
I know. He's told me some stories. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I knew Andy from, being in the Northwest doing comedy. I knew Andy probably from the first year I started comedy.
Oh, wow. So since you were in Seattle.
I was in Portland, but Portland didn't have a scene at that time. So I would
So,
travel up to Seattle and go do things with the People's Republic, which was Hari Kondabolu and Rory Scovel and Andy and Scott and Andy at the
yeah.
time as a group, and a couple other people who I cannot remember currently. But it was a much better scene than what was going on in Portland, so I would go over there.
So how far is that drive? That's a ways. That's like 2 hours, right?
It's like 4 hours, yeah, about a 4 hour drive from where I
So
was.
you would drive 4 hours to go do comedy when you started.
Yeah, it was really ingrained in me early on because I never lived in like the city proper, of wherever the scene was. I didn't move to Portland until like about 6 months before I moved to LA. Like I was always in surrounding cities, or like I lived on the Oregon coast and stuff. So I was always, because I thought that was the job. You travel, you drive a lot, and you go
Yeah.
to different towns. And it was so weird to me dealing with local comics who I would put on showcases in my town, 45 minutes away from Portland, and they didn't want to make the drive. And I'm like, do you want this job?
Yeah. That's so funny. So you moved to Portland 6 months before you moved to LA?
Yeah, after
Is that what I'm hearing?
yeah, I got separated from my ex-wife. I was getting ready to get divorced, and I knew I was gonna move to LA. Hopefully, but in the meantime, I had to find a place to stay. So I was in Portland, couch surfing, staying on Ian
Oh, I
Carmel's,
see.
Shane Torres's couch. Found you,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's like you think about the amount of time with these people that you've known them, and it's like it's such a huge chunk of your life. Like, I think about we all cross paths at different times and shit, but like I love when I think back about how comedians kind of grow up together, and I remember at the end of Chappelle's one of his last specials, I think it was the most recent one, where he like stops and he starts talking to the audience. He does the Q&A, and they're asking him like, comedians raised me like we're family, and we fight like family, and we make up like family, and we watch your family members grow, and
Hmm.
you forgive them, and then you move on. And it's like there's so many people just in the short amount of time that I've been in comedy that I've seen, you know, either leave the scene for like a comeback after kind of like working on themselves a little bit. And then, they come back and everybody's happy to have them back. And it's like, and there's people that I've had fucking huge fights with. I remember when I started, I got into this huge argument with this kid that we were barking together on the street in New York. It was a huge argument. And his name's Leo. And he was like, this is what I'm saying about you. He's like, you're very disrespectful. You're just walking away. You're very disrespectful. And I was like, yeah. And I turned around and I was like, I'm trying to disrespect you, which is like, I was like, that's what I'm trying to do. And I remember my friends watching that and laughing their asses off at the amount of like, because that's like a fight you have with your sibling, you
Hmm.
know? And I see that kid around now, and it's like, we both still remember that fight. It's like we're both still kind of like shitty with each other about it, but we've forgiven each other. We've moved on. But I don't know. Have you had anything like that with somebody where it's like, I guess where things are not weird anymore, but like kind of knock down, drag out fights with like a comic that then you kind of like forgave each other and moved on and were almost closer because of it?
Yeah, I mean, plenty of times I get into disagreements with people. I've gotten into arguments with people because, like, I love talking shit, and I don't. I've never stopped, even if it was like talking shit about like my friend's TV show or something like that, you know. And sometimes
Yeah.
people, I forget that like when money gets involved, people take it a little bit more personally, you know, when you're like, oh, your show sucks, like, you know. And I
Which
don't
is
though, you know, like I like this is what we're supposed to do. Shows come, shows go. Most of them suck, you know, but I'm not gonna sit around and be like, this show is awesome. And so I've gotten in a few arguments with different comedians. It's also different with like black comedy in general because it's a little bit more competitive, you know, because
yeah.
there's just a I mean, I don't usually fall into it, but there is like a mindset that there's less spots, there's less slots for you, so you have to kind of fight it out with each other for the one slot that they don't want to give to all the rest of the white cast. And so
Yeah,
it's a
that
little,
happens with women too, you know,
oh
where
yeah,
we go.
absolutely.
I think a lot less now, but it definitely, I know that state of mind,
Oh,
you
I
know.
mean, that's the state of mind for women in everyday life, right? Like to
Yeah,
look
to
at
a
each other as
certain extent.
competitors, yeah, instead of sisters, you're looked at each other as competition for mates or competition for jobs.
I think less so now. I mean, I think the women that do think of it that way, or even the people in general that think of things in terms of like, I have to hoard my success so that no one else takes it from me.
Mm-hmm.
I think those people are already in a state of lack, you know what I mean, mentally. So they don't really succeed as much. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the people that are really successful actually are more likely to share and kind of like hand opportunities out and kind of like just be like, yeah, there's enough money in
Yeah,
Hollywood for all of
well,
us.
you know the name for that is, you know, they talk about the abundance mindset or versus the scarcity mindset, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of scarcity mindset in the middle of comedy, you know,
Yeah.
with people who don't really know what they're doing and have maybe gotten one bit of success or a little bit of success, and so then they get fearful, and their way of showing fear is either usually by putting other people down and by telling you you're not good enough or by stealing ideas, you know, things like
Yeah.
that. When I just decided long ago that for me, like, I gotta be myself and have fun, and like the projects will come from that, come from being me, because whenever I try, whether it's voice acting, regular acting, or whatever, whenever I try to carry these things that are not me, if I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be sleazy or I'm supposed to be these things, like it just rings so false. It's like this Saturday Night Live sketch or something, you know? So I was just
Yeah.
like, I have to be me because that's the
Yeah.
only thing that works for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like by doing that, you almost it's more exciting. You're kind of walking a tightrope, right? Like when I'm telling a joke that's personal to me that I'm not really ready to fucking get. I'm like, that's my dog. He's like, he's never gonna be able to go back to New York. He's like, he's just a wolf now. But I feel like that feels so much more exciting than telling a joke about, say, you know, whatever my experience was on Tinder. Cause it's like, how unique could it possibly be? Unless I logged into Tinder and got pregnant without meeting with anyone. I don't see, you know what I mean? Um, and that's not to put people down, like, whatever. I'm just saying,
No, it's just, I mean, but it's just the difference between someone who is looking to master their craft, you know. And in order to do that, you have to dig deep within yourself, because you have to find out what's different in the topics that have already been so done, you know. And that's the thing that I've had to transition to, as I'm not, obviously I'm not an old comic by any means, but I'm not like in 23, 25. I'm not that. So I can't sit around and be like, oh, I'm so broke and I have, you know, I don't know how I'm going to get my next meal. I have to be like, I have a house. I have these things. I have, you know, and so I have
yeah,
to continue to be honest and involved in my craft. And that's what to me makes it funny. Not like I get comments all the time where like I post up an old video and they're like, oh, I miss when you're delivery was slower, and when you were weirder, and your hair was bigger. And I was like, well, then watch the old fucking video. Like, like,
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to evolve and get better. I know I'm better because my fucking everything in my life and my bank account tells me I'm doing better. So
Yeah.
you cannot possibly be right.
Yeah. You're like, it's like, okay, well, then you are more, it's like, that's cool. That's fine if that's what you relate to, but that's not who I am anymore. And it's almost like those, those people that like get attached to a band during a certain genre, and they're like, they were great before they started doing this. And it's like, oh, before they fucking grew and
Yeah, before they
changed.
figured out who they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you hear that a lot of time from people, and so I mean, the whole business is weird as fuck. You can get so involved in people telling you you're great, or trying to, chase down like, oh, I want all these specials or whatever. But for me lately, it's just been trying to really enjoy what I do and get better at what I do, and enjoy when, like, it's so funny to me because in the same day I'll get like Wanda Sykes or someone be telling me how good I am. I mean, I remember like 100%, and I'm not name dropping anything. I am. Who gives a fuck? I'm telling you a story. One time I went to a comedy festival, and Wanda Sykes sees me walking down the street, and she stops me, and she's like, "Hey, Ron, you're so fucking funny. You need to be playing theaters. Get the fuck out of these clubs. Figure your shit out. Start playing theaters." And I'm like, "I'm trying, Wanda."
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. That's almost like something your relative would say to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it meant so much to me because these are the people who I like. Wanda Sykes, her, leave your pussy at home joke, which she said she can take it. That's like, that to me is a top 5 joke of all time. Like, she is so good at her job, and so for someone like that to tell me that I'm fucking great, and then at the same time you get online or you get or whatever, and people are like, you fucking suck, and it's just like,
Yeah.
you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. You and I are both terrible about this. Like, well, you could look at it as terrible. I fucking take genuine joy in it. But like when somebody comes after my comedy online, or like somebody tries to quote a joke of mine and ends up just insulting me, I'll just go at them like a pit bull. Like I'll just fucking, I just like lose it. And Blair always gives me shit about this. Like she'll be like, oh, here she goes. Here she is again, because like
mm-hmm.
I can't help it. I gotta go after these fucking assholes. I
know,
can't
I get it.
let them live their lives thinking that they're right about one single fucking thing, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And they need to know that they're fucking idiots, because it's an education that I'm giving them. It's a free education. I'm telling them that they're morons, and it's like, you gotta know that before you learn a goddamn thing, So I don't know. I mean, I'm an idiot too, but at least I know it.
Yeah, a little more classy about it. And I agree. And I mean, I used to do it a lot more. I got off of Twitter as of January of the beginning of the year, after several discussions with my fiance.
What were those discussions?
Just that she felt that I wasn't truly aware of the how many people like me and my scope, and things that people like me from a lot of different things, like, trolls or whatever, or Talking Dead, or what. There's people who like literally who only have ever seen me on Talking Dead, who are then like fans of mine, which is to me the weirdest fucking way,
Yeah.
But
they're just like, this guy.
It's weird.
Tune into Talking Dead one night, and they're like, I'm following him for the rest of his career.
But to then, because I love talking, same thing. I just like, oh, you're being an idiot, and I need to give you an education because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But I spend a lot of time doing it, and I go back and forth, and overall, it would like make me lose followers, which I didn't really care about. I kind of always had this mindset of like, I don't need the most followers, I need the most well-behaved followers, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it was just taking up a lot of my mind space, and I would get real angry. I could feel it in my chest that I was getting actually angry up at
Yeah.
like two in the morning, getting into these tweet fights, and losing like 20,000 followers or some shit. And I was just like, I just tried it for a week while we were in Japan, and I was like, I just feel so much better, because I think not only was I addicted to fighting the negative, I was addicted to searching out the praise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I'm just more like, oh, I just do it. Even now, like and I'm in a fortunate position because I have an assistant that will, like, my Twitter's still active because I'm trying to get them checks if anybody wants to send
Yeah.
to endorse something. So I never shut
Yeah.
it down. I'm never gonna shut it down. But so if I want to tweet something, I'll just tell her to, hey, tweet exactly this, and then I'll never even see it. I'll never even see how people reacted to it. I just did it,
Yeah.
which to me is kind of the purest way, and what it was like to me in the beginning when I loved Twitter, when no one knew who I was and I could just write fun jokes.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I've been thinking about it. I was thinking about it actually literally right before this podcast, where I was like, maybe I should stop responding to people, because I was thinking, like, some guy said something on my YouTube page, which is like, I can't avoid the comments on there because I can see them and there's not that many. So like I'm like, it's just like one guy saying a mean thing, and I'm just like, well, that sucks, because it's like I get all these thumbs up, and then the only fucking verbal feedback I get is like, make me a sandwich. And I'm like, God damn it, So like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, maybe I should just stop, because at the end of the day, I know better than to think I'm going to change somebody online, you know? And it's not good for us, and we're never going to, but it is like a fun way to, like, prove that it's like, for me, I just go, "Oh, I'm so much funnier than this person, that I can get back at them with a joke." And if I get back at them with a joke, then I'm like,
Oh,
it's fine.
oh,
Then it's
trust me,
beautiful.
nothing. Oh my God, nothing made me happier that when someone came out of the blue to attack you, and then you got them back so badly that they deleted their page.
Oh,
Oh, that was. Oh, I would
that
always
it's
post
just
this gif of the Rock just smelling, like making his little note, and I would, whenever I made someone do that, I would always just post that. I was like,
yeah.
that's how I feel right now.
Yes. Yes, I love that. That's beautiful.
So I miss
Um
that.
well, you're not missing anything. I mean, trust me. I always end up feeling sad that I did it, and it's never actually worth it. Um
I think it's the
Sorry, I
combo, like we
need
were
to turn
talking
my phone
about the.
volume off. What'd you say?
it's the I said, I think it's a combo of, like, it's a waste of time with the negativity, and it, now that anything super positive that can do, because it used to be like there were true examples of someone getting a job because their Twitter was so good, or someone even getting a show because their Twitter was so good. But
Yeah.
now the best case scenario is that someone steals your fucking joke and puts it on their Instagram that they are using to sell products. And so to me, it's just kind of realizing that Twitter was a fun party, but the party's kind of fucking over, and I don't want to be the last one hanging around, except for to get checks from corporations.
Yeah. I was thinking about it this week, because my manager was telling me, like, what you should do is, like, just post your tweets on Instagram. And I was like, because instead of posting my stand-up bits, and I was like, I don't think so. Like, I'll post a tweet if it's not original, like,
Mm-hmm.
if it's something that I just don't care that much about. I'm like, but if it's a joke, I want it to be coming out of my face so that people can't repost it without my face saying it. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I mean, I see her. I don't know if you're managed boy or girl. So I assumed
I
it was
see
just
his
men.
point. I know
I see
what he's
his.
saying.
Yeah, I see his point. But to me, it's almost kind of like, um, you're not going anywhere, right? Like, you don't need to blow up tomorrow, right? So,
No.
like, if you're here for the long haul, I would say the only advice I would say, the story behind that note is probably shorten, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what the real note is. Shorten that up. So
Yeah.
if anything, you probably just want to make shorter clips that are subtitled, that are very quick and easy to get through,
Yeah.
just little
And
clips.
he's like, keep your babies close to you. And I'm like, I know, but it's also like, I think the first week of this quarantine,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, fuck, you know what I mean? And I think
Mm-hmm.
I started panic posting a little bit where like,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, well, I guess I better put my whole fucking hour out there piece by piece, And I think I posted like one or two clips, and one joke was like a real special one. And that was when he was like, hey, careful. And I was like,
Right.
okay, I hear you.
Okay.
I hear
Yeah.
you.
Well, he's doing his job. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
He's
I
looking
agree.
out.
Yeah.
So now that I've talked for a while about how much of a smartass I am, and sorry I keep talking about myself on this podcast, which is actually an interview podcast, but I feel like it's the best way to get somebody to open up about themselves is to kind of like,
It's a unique style. It's a
yeah.
different style. I like it
Yeah.
though.
Okay, good. I hope you feel like I would rather it feel more like a conversation than just a fucking interview because I don't know how good of an interviewer I am. But I'm finding my way and you've been awesome with this, so thank you. I
Oh,
appreciate
it's
it.
a pleasure.
I am going to ask for your help with something. I do a segment at the end of this. It's called Bad Advice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I think as comedians, we are uniquely qualified to give horrible advice to people. And so I like to do this. Some people have a hard time with it. Some people like to really actually give good advice. And some of the questions I have a hard time giving bad advice to as well. So I'm going to get into it and we'll give this lady some bad advice. Are you up for
Sounds
that?
good. Sure.
Okay. All right. Hi, Rosebud. Super excited for the new podcast. If you do share this, please don't use my real name since this man is crazy and stalks my social media and probably has a Google alert set up on me by now.
Oh, I'm already
Okay.
interested.
Yeah. She said, here's my best attempt at the Reader's Digest backstory. Met on Halloween, dated for 2 months. Before Christmas, asked me to be his girlfriend, and I said yes, but only because I was in the holiday spirit. Next day, I broke out. It's fucking great. She's like, yeah, it's Christmas. Here's your gift.
Yeah, me.
That's how I got engaged. All right. Next day, I broke out in hives on my entire body except my face, and they lasted for 4 days. After New Year's, broke up with him because I didn't like him anymore, and he was stressing me out. The night before I broke up with him, I also stayed over at his place. And after I went to sleep, he drank 5 beers, 2 shots of whiskey, smoked a bowl, got lost in the woods, threw up in the bathroom sink, passed out on the toilet, and somehow made it back to bed. First of all, this man is a warrior.
Yeah. So
That's
far, he
a
sounds like the
that's
cool one in this relationship. To tell you the truth, he sounds like he's pretty cool as fuck, hanging around, drinking, smoking bowls.
yeah. I
And
mean,
you got hives. Like, you're not the catch at this point.
yeah. You just have a condition, all right. He had a near-death experience. Few days later, he overnighted me a book and a Metro card with money left on it. Okay, he's also a Robin Hood.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, yeah. I tweeted this week 2 of my ex's. This is week 2 of my exes gave me Metro cards with money left on them, so I guess I'll keep breaking up with people. He saw the tweet, even though he hasn't used Twitter since 2013, and it caused him to start drinking heavily. First of all, he already drank heavily. This has
Yeah.
been established.
Yeah, you sound like you're giving yourself way too much credit as a person who can affect someone else's life. That a tweet of yours made him start drinking heavily. That's not true at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, you ain't that hot. You got hives.
You got hives. First of all, and hives, and this is speaking as someone who gets rashes. That's a baby's way of asking for attention. All right. All right. 5 weeks went by. We were forced to see each other at a work obligation.
Oh, work together.
Well, she says we don't usually work together, but we're in the same profession and occasionally required to be in the same place. Seeing me caused him to spiral, get drunk, and send me a novel email. I haven't responded yet because I don't know how. Okay, so then she copied and pasted the whole email. And guys, I've said it before on the podcast. I'm going to say it again. Just write me a problem that's a paragraph long, okay? I don't have this. This is like a half a podcast's worth of content. This is insane.
And it was not, I mean, it was a private email from him to her, and she's just passing it to you now?
Yeah, I'm not going to read his email because it's too long. It's basically something that I would write to an ex and then save it in my computer just to get my feelings out. So maybe he just pressed send by accident, you know? He's basically, the last of it says, I wouldn't mind hearing from you. I hope everything's going well. And then also, I feel free to disregard this if you'd like. And she's wondering if she should write back or not.
Oh, we're supposed to give bad advice?
We're supposed to give bad advice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right back. Get involved. Tell him that these overtures have hit hard and you're ready to get back together and possibly get married and have kids. That's right up your alley because, I mean,
yeah.
Truthfully, though, I don't see what, in this day and age, he sounds like a pretty decent guy. Started dating him in October. 2 months later, he's ready to go official. You know how hard it is to get a dude to do that? 2 months?
This also sounds like a man who's looking for a nurse. So what I would say is definitely write back. This is my bad advice. Definitely write back. I would begin the email by telling him, it's crazy you wrote me. And that I saw this just now because I'm shopping for wedding dresses, and send him some pics of you in a wedding dress. I don't know how good your Photoshop skills are, but show them to him. Ask him how bad his drinking has progressed. Let him know that you're also in the market for a nursing degree. Ask if you could marry him and see what kind of skills you could pick up. If you do pick up some nursing skills, those to the streets, spread those around. People need it right now. Okay. So, what I'm saying is date this man, practice medicine without a license, and get out there and save your community and also yourself from a life alone.
Rosebud, if there's anything I know that I've learned in my life is that a good woman can change the problems of any man. So if you are good enough,
I hope you're fucking kidding. I hope to God you're kidding.
If you're good enough, if you're true enough, if you are beautiful enough, if you are the true princess that you believe you are, he will stop drinking eventually for you, and you gotta ride it out.
Oh my God. Oh, it's beautiful. What? No falser thing has ever been said. And you guys, Ron, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so happy that you were able to do it and that that I guess, the schedule's freed up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that bodies were stacked in Central Park in order to make it happen, but listen, I'm glad it happened. Not the bodies
Yeah.
part. And is there anything that you would like to plug?
Oh, yeah, sure. Trolls is going to be out April 10th. Not
Hell
in
yeah.
theaters because theaters will not be open, but it'll be at your house. You can rent it over and over for your children, and that would have helped me financially. And
Yes.
then I have a Quibi show. I'm one of the people who have a Quibi show. Uh, Quibi launches April 6th. My show is called Nice One. It's basically like some would say it's like if you've seen, it's kind of like at midnight, and with me as the host, and where comedians have to say nice things about different subjects and each other. It's hard for me to describe, but it's really funny. And then my
Yeah, that's
podcast, which
awesome.
you got to
And when
come get on
is
Getting
that
Better.
is that you're like frozen in the greatest position right now on my computer? When is that out? It's out already?
No, it'll be out, I believe, May 25th, but who knows? Things change. But let's look for it, May 25th.
Hell yeah. And you've also got a great podcast.
Yeah, Getting Better with Ron Funches is just about getting better. Talk to a lot of friends and people who I enjoy and look up to, and ask them about what they're working on and how they're getting better at their craft and their life. And I love doing it. And you're going to come on. Maybe we'll do it on Zoom, but I'd love to do it in person whenever we can.
I love that too. You guys, thank you for tuning in this week and every week. If you are enjoying the podcast, please do me a favor and rate it and review it. It helps to get the visibility of this podcast up and helps put butts in seats when I go on the road, which is money in my pocket, which is food in my dog's bowl, and food for my unborn children. And also, you can follow me on social media at Rosebud Baker on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to get in a fight, I'm always down for that. Obviously. And what else? I think that's it. Thank you so much, Ron, for coming on. You're the best. You're so fucking funny. I can't wait to see Trolls. And that's it. Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for doing it, dude. I really hold on, let me just stop this here. If you could send me that audio, that would be fucking awesome.
Okay.
Let me stop this recording.
What would be the best way to give it to you?
You can
Probably
email
like
it to me.
I don't know if it's big though, so probably wants to
Google
go on
Chrome,
like
Dropbox, whatever's
Dropbox
easiest.
it. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll Dropbox it to you.
Yeah. Awesome. And thank you again for doing it. Really, this was fun. You were a great guest.
Oh, it's fun. It's always good to talk to you. I enjoy talking with you.
Do you have any plans for the rest of the day? Are you guys
just trying not to give into the fucking doldrum, trying to stay active, but I also just want to get high and fall asleep, but it's just, I don't know.
Goddamn, yeah.
I don't know what to do, to tell you the truth. Probably try to work out again.